Xcel shut off power again to prevent their power lines from starting a fire, even power lines that can turn themselves off. As state and federal budget cuts hit Medicaid spending, families learn they'll lose services for their loved ones with disabilities.
For that to be taken away from us is just horrible.
When you have the ear of 100 state lawmakers, you let them know about the massive gas spill on tribal lands you think they're ignoring. And football fans put aside the trash talk to share some good news with us.
28-24, Bills are going to take it.
And if they do lose, can cancel her ticket to go home.
Okay, maybe a little trash talk, better than trashy TV. That's why you're watching next. Thanks to those of you watching on your phones or laptops in northern Colorado. 14,000 Xcel customers are still in the dark tonight, most of them in Weld and Larimer counties. Xcel preemptively shut off power in those areas, citing high winds and the potential for destructive wildfires. A high wind warning for the northern I-25 corridor and the eastern plains expired about an hour ago. Some areas like Wellington saw 60 to 70 mile per hour gusts this afternoon. And the winds have died down a bit, but not completely. And that's why we're going to go to Corey Reppenhagen, who's out bearding me today. How are the winds now? You've got the top wind gusts coming, but that's the worst of it, what's going to be behind you right now?
Yeah, and that's the good news, Marshall, is those really big gusts are really starting to diminish now. So I'm talking about those 60 to 70 mile per hour winds. These were the biggest of the day so far. Virginia Dale, Buckeye, these are two communities up in Larimer County. So that is where we did end up seeing the biggest wind gusts for the day. But now we're starting to see those diminish. And as this is the forecast, as we go through the rest of the night, those will continue. They'll stay gusty, 20, 30, maybe even some 40 mile per hour gusts there on the eastern plains all the way through the day tomorrow. And there will be even a few light wind gusts to affect the Broncos game tomorrow. So I'll talk about that in the forecast just a few more minutes, Marshall.
Hopefully it won't require a field goal, which could be impacted by the wind. Just like a circuit breaker on your home, Xcel power lines can cut off power locally if there's an issue with the wires. So how come Xcel preemptively shuts off power like today in northern Colorado instead of letting the fail-safes work? Here's Spencer Soisher.
We all have things we're sensitive about. My eyebrows, usually out of our control. I won't compare your feelings to a power line, but Xcel Energy's lines can be sensitive too. And Xcel can control that.
If the sensitivity mode is triggered, then they will be, triggering faster.
Colorado School of Mines electrical engineering professor Dr. Kuya Wong is explaining one part of Xcel's enhanced power line safety settings. Xcel's lines have reclosers, which can stop the flow of electricity when there's a fault. When the fault clears, they'll try and reopen and reclose quickly and restore electricity. Think a circuit breaker in your home. But when there's wildfire risk or crazy wind, the reclosers can be set to be more sensitive and won't automatically reopen if, say, a tree falls on them or two lines touch.
This is a very effective technology.
So if we have the fail-safe and can turn off a line with a fault, why does Xcel continue to proactively turn off people's power? Wong says it's kind of like that automatic emergency braking on newer cars. It turns on when it detects an urgent problem.
I don't think it's sufficient enough.
DU professor Rui Fan agrees it works, but not enough to be an only option.
If it's not detected, then that's going to be a problem.
A helpful detection tool, but in weather where trees are falling, it may also not work quickly enough to prevent a fire.
Because whenever it touched, it already, it's maybe a little bit too late. The technology is not that 100% guarantee for this.
The lingering question with these shutoffs is, of course, the lawsuit after the Marshall Fire, which in the settlement, Xcel has admitted no wrongdoing. Certainly feels, though, like we're seeing these more frequently, although experts in the field, Marshall, certainly think they couldn't just rely on these reclosers and sensitive lines.
I know Mark Salinger asked the Colorado president of Xcel, if you didn't start the Marshall Fire, why are you turning it off? And he said, we didn't start the Marshall Fire, and this has nothing to do with the Marshall Fire.
Sure.
Thanks for leaving that out for me.
Yeah,
thanks.
You can decide.
Yeah. A doctor from Colorado is facing criminal charges after a game of bingo. One of the doctor's patients died during routine cataract surgery while the surgical team played a game of musical bingo. Bart Ryder, who was just 58, stopped breathing during a surgery at Lone Tree Medical Center in 2023 and died shortly after being transferred to the hospital. His widow, Chris, sued the medical team after being tipped off that the surgeon and anesthesiologist were playing a game of musical bingo during the surgery. In a civil lawsuit, Chris claimed anesthesiologist Dr. Michael Urban was focused on that game and that audible alarms on Bart's vital monitors had been turned down. This week, a grand jury in Douglas County indicted Dr. Urban on manslaughter and homicide charges. Following Ryder's death, Dr. Urban moved to Oregon and continued to practice. The surgeon in this case blamed Urban for, quote, decisions that violated proper protocol. Because Dr. Urban now lives in Oregon, a warrant is now out for his arrest. It's not clear just how soon he would be in custody. The governor is still fighting in court to be able to share information with ICE agents in a way that might violate laws he has signed. Last year, ICE sent Colorado's Department of Labor and Employment, CDLE, an administrative subpoena for information about 35 people who were sponsors of immigrant children. The paperwork said ICE wanted to make sure that the children are not subjected to crimes of human trafficking. A CDLE employee sued Democratic Governor Jared Polis to prevent the state from sharing employment records and contact information for those 35 people. State laws signed by Polis restricts local cooperation with ICE unless there's a court order or it's part of a criminal investigation. This week, CDLE told state lawmakers the new department response is to tell ICE to get a court order. In our one-on-one yesterday, I asked Polis why he's still fighting the lawsuit to share information without a court order.
The law states that if it's subject to a criminal investigation, we can cooperate. And sometimes out of the need to move those quickly to catch, for instance, parties that are responsible for kidnapping kids or human trafficking, we have the flexibility legally to move ahead of judicial action, which can take longer.
Do you have any more detail about criminal investigation besides criminal investigation written in this?
Well, we certainly hope the federal government is more explicit in that going forward. I mean, we believe the request was sufficient and talked about a criminal investigation into human trafficking, but obviously the more explicit it is, the more we're able to react quickly to make sure that anybody that's doing anything illegal is apprehended.
The judge overhearing the lawsuit initially ruled that CDLE could not share records with ICE, but admitted he had no power to prevent the governor from doing so. Polis's attorneys told the court that the state did find employment records for 6 of the 35 people, and that because the employers can be searched publicly, they're still wanting to share that information with ICE. Budget cuts to Medicaid have families of people with disabilities on notice. Last year, the Polis administration announced reductions to at least 15 Medicaid programs in a scramble to rebalance the state's budget after tax changes were made by Congress in D.C. This week, some families got word of when those cuts will take place. They spoke to our Julissa Irizarry.
Where's your wrench?
All the toys in the world are no match
Oh, are you gonna set up too?
for a news reporter's camera gear.
Are you gonna fix that?
As Jordan Bekovic's son, Langston, works on his repairs, she's looking to restore some stability for her family.
When I got the letter,
And many like hers.
basically reading over that saying that community connector would be eliminated at that point, it's like, that's it.
Bekovic's son is one of roughly 40,000 Coloradans that will be impacted by reductions to Medicaid programs that help people with disabilities. The changes were announced last year, but for most, the exact timing wasn't clear.
Great, I'm the first.
Until this week.
But yeah, everybody was really shocked that I got this letter.
Bekovic says on Thursday she received a notice from her case manager. Effective April 1st, the paid homemaker hours she receives would cut in half, and her son, who has autism, would lose access to the Community Connector program.
Good job, buddy.
The program helps kids with disabilities build skills through everyday community activities like visiting social places.
At first, I couldn't believe that they were, starting to implement these changes before anything had even been ruled on.
The faster that we can achieve savings, the less reductions we have to take. So that's why you see us moving so quickly in a way that is not typical of state government.
That's Bonnie Silva from back in November. She's with the Department of Healthcare Policy and Financing, the folks that decided on what services to reduce. No one would speak on camera today, but in a statement they said the governor's executive order allows the changes even without a vote from the Joint Budget Committee.
That is absolutely detrimental.
Bekovic worries about what will happen next, but she does so looking to remedy the situation.
Yeah.
For her son and so many others.
This isn't about a paycheck. This is about providing the bare necessities for our loved ones and our children.
Also effective April 1st, families will also have to cap CNA or personal care hours to 56 hours a week. The state says they have asked case managers to start having conversations with people impacted to prepare them for the reductions as early as possible. Marshall?
Well, that was the unexpected budget cuts. What about more budget cuts to come this term now that the session has started again?
That's a great question, right? And we asked them that today, and they completely ignored it. So TBD?
Well, I'll tell you, if they keep the same budget last year as they do this year, they're already minus $850 million. So I really feel for these families that they may be on the lookout for more to come, but we'll follow that through the year. Thanks, Jaleesa. We want to say a quick thank you for all you've done this week to ease the transition for folks re-entering the community after spending time in prison. Here's Kyle with an update on this week's Word of Thanks.
About 1 in 3 people leaving prison in Colorado will eventually return, although that is an actual improvement in the state's recidivism rate over years past. But when you look at the people who participate in one specific program to help them adjust first on the inside, then on the outside, that recidivism rate drops to less than 5%. That's why this week's Word of Thanks microgiving campaign supports the nonprofit Breakthrough. Breakthrough works with people in Colorado's prison system, helping inmates who are determined to succeed when they leave. Breakthrough's programs start on the inside, an intensive 8-month program designed to change lives, focusing on character, communication, job readiness, planning for reentry into society. Then when they're out, another Breakthrough program steps in, offering peer mentorship and help with some of the essentials that you just need to get by in today's society, like a cell phone and a basic laptop. So our focus is going to be on helping those post-release participants succeed in society. End of the day, it's good for them, it's good for their neighbors, it's good for taxpayers because it saves money if people don't end up in prison again. For every $1,000 that we raise together, that is one more Coloradan coming out of prison with the support that they need from Breakthrough to never go back. Scan the QR code on your screen or text the word THANKS to 303-871-1491. We'll send you the link to join me and a bunch of other Coloradans in donating this week. 7,000 of you have signed up to make a monthly pledge to the Word of Thanks Fund. You put in your info one time, pick your donation amount, and every month it's automatically split among all the nonprofits that we feature. In November, our recurring givers added an amazing $50,000 to each weekly campaign.
We will be dealing with the ramifications of this spill for decades.
Colorado's tribal leaders want more from the state after a nearly 100,000-gallon gasoline spill on tribal land. And we end the week on a high note. Good news from Broncos and Bills fans before one fan base gets their hearts broken. That's next. Colorado's tribal leaders want help from state lawmakers. In their annual State of the Tribes, leaders of the Ute Mountain Ute and Southern Ute tribes asked the legislature for more cooperation on water rights, public safety, and a massive gas pipeline spill on tribal land. Both tribes asked for an intergovernmental agreement allowing state, federal, and tribal law enforcement officers to share information about missing and murdered Indigenous people. They also asked for their tribal water rights to be recognized as several states and the feds negotiate a new long-term agreement governing the Colorado River in times of drought. And Southern Ute Chairman Melvin Baker called out state leadership for turning a blind eye to a massive gas pipeline spill in La Plata County in 2024. A pipeline owned by Enterprise Products leaked 97,000 gallons of gas in the tribe's backyard, threatening to contaminate the Animas River. Baker says the tribe has been bearing the burden of the environmental disaster without help from state leaders.
My tribe has spent significant funds to address a major gasoline spill on land over which the state claims jurisdiction. We believe the state has not allocated the appropriate level of resources to address the largest gasoline spill to date. We need to do better.
The oil and gas company Enterprise first estimated the gas spill at 23,000 gallons. It's now estimated at 97,000. That's 4 times more. Today, the state's director of environmental health and protection told me Enterprise is required to fully investigate and clean up the spill until the area meets all groundwater and soil standards.
Well, it's not out of sight or out of mind to me. I happen to live right across the river from where this spill is, and I can assure you that our department is working very closely and diligently with both the tribe and EPA to ensure this cleanup happens as quickly as possible and continues until all standards are met.
The EPA in November put Enterprise on notice that the company was violating federal rules by improperly transporting and dumping hazardous waste from the spill. After that, the state health department said it conducted an inspection and required additional training for Enterprise's on-site workers. Corey Reppenhagen is back, and Corey, there was a game in the NFL playoffs last week where they had to hold the kickoff. You know, you lose a guy to have to hold the ball up from falling over because of the wind during the kickoff. Are we going to see that tomorrow?
I don't think quite that much. We're forecasting 10 to 15 miles per hour winds during the game. Now, I do remember a game this year where we were forecasting 10 to 15. It gusted to 20 during the game, and Coach Payton actually called us out on that, called it a busted forecast. So there is going to be some wind for an effect. We do have the fire weather warnings expired here across the Front Range, but continuing out on the eastern plains, 45 mile per hour wind gusts will be possible all the way through the end of the day tomorrow. We do have a grass fire in progress right here in Sedgwick County right now, so hopefully they can get a hold of that thing. It's still gusting out there pretty good. These are the temperatures tomorrow morning. It is going to start out really cold, so the entire day, even though we'll have lots of sunshine through the day tomorrow, we're still going to be really cold during that Broncos football game, and then a chance for some flurries, maybe some accumulating snow on MLK morning before we warm up into the middle of the week.
Our good news is we're married 31 years next week. I recently retired and we have nothing to do but have fun.
Andy's got a Burberry scarf. It's going to be hard to top that, but we'll try anyway. Your weekly dose of good news is next. The logo for the Smoky Hill High School Buffaloes, at least when I was there, was a red and green version of the Buffalo Bills logo. So technically, I've painted my face with both the Bills and Broncos logos. We saw people in both logos arriving today at DIA. There's never really been a heated rivalry between the two teams, and the fans we talked to today, they plan to keep it classy.
I'm not doing any trash talking. I don't believe in that. You know, I believe may the best city and the best team win, and hopefully they root for us if we win. I'm going to root for them if they win.
Bills and Broncos fans can even bond over a common enemy, one that either team might have to face in the AFC Championship, the New England Patriots. This time tomorrow, we'll know who has won at Mile High, which means good news might be hard to find for some, but we found it ahead of tomorrow's playoff game.
Stop! Mafia truly is what it is.
Good news is, well, clearly the good news will be the Bills will be going into the AFC Championship game.
Good news is Josh Allen is healthy. We are magically going to find some receivers for tomorrow's game, and the sun is out, so really can't complain.
I know this is TV, so I can't say what I want to say. We're going to beat the Rams tomorrow, and then we're looking forward to whoever is next, because it doesn't matter. Bear down, baby.
Broncos are going to take them.
No.
What do you know about football?
That it's a ball and you throw it and they catch it.
That's my dad.
My good news is we're guaranteeing 2 wins for this weekend. The Broncos and the Bears.
We're getting married!
Look at that! We're getting married!
Yeah, the good news is I own my own business, and I'm actually buying another business coming up. We're going to it's an old funeral home that we're going to be turning into an event center.
Good news for me 24 hours from now is that the Bills have played a really competitive game, and hopefully they've won.
She's a Cowboy fan. She has no good news.
No good news there.
My good news is Denver Broncos are going to win this game, and Josh Allen will still be a good guy.
We're going to share our memories together, make more memories, and see where things go.
And have babies.
Yeah, you know.
My good news is you can support anyone, anywhere. If they're your team, not your team. Be good, be kind.
Surprising feedback when we return. Some of you picked up on something Spencer said while reporting on sensitive power lines, something he's sensitive about. Gucci says Spencer has amazing eyebrows. Tina in Northland, tell Spencer we love his eyebrows. I, for one, would love to know what the heck an eyebrow is. We'll see you next time.